Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Young Urban Moms as we provide special coverage for the coronavirus pandemic. I'm here with Crystal and Carolina, your fave Youngs, and we have a very special guest with us today. Her name is Alquincia, but you guys may all know her by her Instagram handle, Akanundrum. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah, it's just like that. Akanundrum.
Akanundrum.
Akanundrum. Yeah.
So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm very, very happy to be here. And again, as I said earlier, I think this is an awesome contribution to what is going on, what you guys are offering for your audience. It's very needed at this time. So it's a great use of your platform.
Oh, thank you so much. That's what we're trying to do here, just like you are doing with your social media. We've been spending our time basically getting schooled here, looking at some of your posts. Obviously, your older posts are all very informative by way of business strategy, but your recent posts in regard to this pandemic in particular have been invaluable to us. So I'd like to really start by addressing you recently posted basically a rundown of the bill that the Senate just passed a few days ago to provide relief on many fronts in regard to this pandemic. And I know that in your post you say that, you're not necessarily qualified to get in depth about it, but I mean, the way you broke it down and just your sharing of it has been great. So we're wondering what kind of questions or concerns you're getting from people in regard to that post, and what are you telling them?
Well, I'm solution based. A lot of things that I post are things that I can anticipate. They're questions that I know are coming down the pipeline. A lot of the posts that I have are things that people have not thought about yet. And so those are things that I'm introducing. So as I'm posting, I'm kind of, checking the temperature, listening to what it is that people are concerned about. And whenever I have the opportunity, I try to address those things as well. So some things are like a response to a previous post. So the post prior to that, there were a lot of questions. There was a young lady, her name is, I just met her yesterday. So it's like a vegan baby, something like that. I'll look it up. But I reposted from her, and she was laid off, or no, I'm sorry. She wants to not come to work because she's afraid. And she felt that she was being bullied by her employer. And so she took her time to educate herself about the new circumstances. And so she did a great video, about a 7-minute video on that. And she also presented the bill, the CRA Fair Family Act. So on that post, a lot of people were concerned about their particular station, their particular roles in their jobs, whether they're non-essentials or essentials. Are they going to get paid? Where do they get finances from? Where is the help coming from? So there were so many questions that I said, let me just look up and try to find a detailed but not overwhelming. There's a lot of legal jargon. A lot of people are confused in some of the terminology that you're seeing on the news. So I wanted to find something that was detailed but easy to understand and kind of straight to the point. And so I found that post, and it answers a lot of questions, I think, for people. Unfortunately, everyone they don't want to read the content. So a lot of times the answer will be there and someone will still come right behind and ask the question. You're like, it's right there in the caption. But the questions most people are concerned with is, how are they going to take care of themselves now? Where is the money going to come from? When is the money going to come? Who qualifies for the money? How much are you going to get? How long is that going to last? How long is this crisis going to last? Do they have to pay their rent? Do they have to pay their credit card bills and their student loans? And are they going to get put out? Are they going to be evicted? And what happens from that? So those are the majority of the questions that I see so far that I try to answer.
Now, as a fellow entrepreneur, what do you think that we can do in order to capitalize during these hard times and not take advantage of people during this crisis?
Right. We have to pivot. The marketplace is always about supply and demand. And in every market, there's going to be a demand, or we can perceive that as a need. there's a few entrepreneurs that we've seen that are highlighted in the news that were initially alcohol distilleries, and they've now transformed into sanitizer, because sanitizer right now is a premier need. I think that's a way of pivoting without taking advantage. It's just that you're supplying a need. Taking advantage, to me, is someone like the other young man who bought, I believe, like 80,000 units of sanitizer.
And now
right.
you can't sell it because Amazon won't allow it.
And for me, had he, say he did see that opportunity, because that's what you're supposed to do as an entrepreneur. Had he perceived the opportunity, saw it, he stockpiled on the sanitizer, but still sold it at a decent price, I would have thought that was genius. You know, there would have been no problem. Even if he marked it up maybe $1 or so, you know, not too much. But because he actually tried to sell it for $70 a unit, like, yeah, he was selling the small bottles for $70. So that's, to me, yeah, that's taking advantage. I'm encouraging people to look around, and there's markets that you're going to invent. Right. So right now there's over, I believe the last estimate was 20 million students. I think I could be wrong. I could be out of school right now, or maybe it's even 55 million, I think, at this point, that are out of school. If you look at some of the state laws, there are children who can stay home as young as 8. Some states don't have a minimum age that children can stay at home. So one of the things that I would suggest, or I even thought about myself, but I just don't have the time to do it, would be something like an e-babysitting service, where the parent may be an essential worker and has to go to work. The child is home, they're of age to stay home. But if there was something like a Skype type of a system or a video system where you could at least be there with the child, you know, checking in with the child. So say you had about 15 or 20 children like that, and you're just checking in. Hey, little Justin, how are you? Is everything okay? I'm okay. Okay, did you eat your lunch? Yeah, let me see your lunch. Let me make sure it's not lollipops. You know, did you do your homework? That way, if the child, if something happens, then you can walk a child through an emergency, right? On a situation. And as a parent, if I were stuck in that situation where I didn't have any other option and that was it, but at least someone was there with my child and could, you know, contact me if there was an emergency and just be a guidance, I would feel a lot better. And I mean, that would be the last resort. You wouldn't want to do that in normal life, but in these circumstances, that would be something that I think someone could think about, you know, especially if they're teachers and they're out of work right now. So it's kind of looking at things that are needed and kind of seeing things that people haven't even been invented yet.
I see the opportunity there. I would be too scared though for my own kids.
Right.
I'm a control freak like that, but I absolutely do see that opportunity.
Yeah. So it's just, for me, kind of tapping in and being creative. True entrepreneurship is not a one-trick pony. It's not just one business that you have. There's business owners, but entrepreneurs, we have to really navigate through a series of businesses sometimes. You know, it's almost serial entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the things that is going to kind of tease out, because in the last few years, a lot of people were pressured. I don't know, there was just this wave of entrepreneurship. And it's not something that I don't discourage, but it's something that I am leery of, because if you're an entrepreneur, you know what is required. You know that this is not a fly-by-night, just, oh, let me try this out. And so when I came back to Instagram a year ago, one of the things I tried to do was provide a little bit of a balance in that. So I saw there were a lot of people who wanted to become, you know, entrepreneurs. I saw that people were targeting them, exploiting them. I saw that there was a lot of marketing people, you know, just making it look like it's so easy and you can just take this course and $99 and you're all set. And I know that that's not the truth. And so I'm not here, and I would never try to discourage anyone. It's not my role. I don't have a license to do that. Mm-hmm. But I try to offer truth, transparency, and tools. So I tried to provide a little bit of a counterweight for what I saw was a potential problem, especially in our communities. When you're with people of color and minorities, we already feel a little bit behind. We already feel like we don't have enough. And so we have a different sort of desperation when it comes to trying to succeed. And I think that we're ripe for exploitation. So the things that I gave, that's why I gave them for free. That's why I haven't charged, for anything. As many times as people have told me I'm foolish for not charging. And I see that now a lot of people that were in that circumstance, thank you. A lot of people that were in that circumstance now, there are going to be a lot of hurt people, because there were so many people that were ill prepared for this landscape as it is. And they made some mistakes. For example, they became entrepreneurs their last year, and they got their LLC, and then they applied for their trademark, and they're starting business. They didn't list themselves as employees. So right now you can't get unemployment. Right now you don't have any cash on reserve. Right now you're kind of stuck. You have inventory that you can't move. You have maybe inventory somewhere you can't even access to sell. And I know that that's the situation for so many people, because Black women were the leading entrepreneur, startups,
Right.
For the last couple of years.
Can you touch on that as far as opening a business? Because I deal with a lot of startup entrepreneurs. And once you do open your LLC, can you just touch on the importance of listing yourself as an employee, and why that's really not even out there as valuable information? Even when, like, I'm a teacher, or I'm a professor for instructor, not a professor. I'm an instructor for SBS Small Business of NYC, and I teach all their, website development courses, and I've been there for their small business courses, and they, that's something that's left out. So can you touch on that a little bit?
Yes, sure. One, structurally speaking, I would say the majority of us tend to do sole proprietorships.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a lot of help to help you kind of navigate through that part, where you're using your social security number personally, right? So your taxes and everything fall on you personally.
Mm-hmm.
With an LLC, of course, as you know, is different. Right. And I think that there is sort of there's twofold I can see, just me theorizing. One, most people haven't made enough that they would even think to list themselves, right? They don't even have enough income coming in. Right. So as soon as they receive any profit, they're reinvesting into the business. They're not even paying themselves. So the last thought is adding yourself, right, as an employee, because you're like, I'm not even making any money.
Right.
And then I think that there is also a sociological aspect to it. Everyone wants to be a boss, right? And there's this, I'm a boss, and you're a boss, and we're boss chicks. And no one really understands that bosses have to get paid too, right? So you go to work and they're thinking the boss, he just makes money off the company and he pays us. So I think that that's just the mindset that so many enter into it with, is that they're thinking when they have an employee, you would think to, pay them, or unless you're trying to avoid taxes or whatever. But for the most part, themselves, I don't think that they see themselves as an employee that has to be paid as well.
That's so important. Thank you for that.
And they're getting it now, right? So right there, everyone's like, oh, unemployment. And they're like, wait.
I'm a 1099, or I don't
right. I haven't listed anything.
Right.
I've just been paying into inventory and so forth and so on. And so right now, I think that's going to be a critical wake-up call.
With that check, I'm sorry, I'm just leaving. That check that we're looking to get, or allegedly get from the government. One question that I had was, did you have to file taxes in 2018 to qualify for that stimulus check now?
Yes.
Okay, so people who didn't file in 2018, you're automatically disqualified. Is that
right?
Oh my!
And that's another thing that people, unfortunately, I would say, and I hate to stereotype us in this fashion, but it's not a negative and it's not our fault.
Right.
For people of color in this country, we have a very late start entering into commerce because we were commerce. So we don't have to really have that stigma when we say we're late to business, and there's a lot we don't know about business. And most of us don't come from generational entrepreneurs. A lot of us come from families that taught you, get a good job, get a city job, get a job. That was the main focus. Then it was get an education, and we weren't taught to own a business. And for the most part, we have a lot of hustlers,
Right.
but not structured entrepreneurs who really went through all of the rigors, right? And have their businesses like on record. And there's no shame in that because all of it is progression. You have to start from somewhere. And so now there's a lot of us who are now looking around and realizing, wow, there's a lot of layers to this. It's not as easy as just simply hustling and just making money, because a lot of the hustlers have encouraged us to not participate in the tax system, not pay your taxes, not do, and now we're realizing the downside of that. How are you going to establish business credit if you don't have your income on record? We have to get away from the money under the mattress mentality.
Yeah.
Right. And we've done it to kind of, I don't know if it's just an opposition of the government. I don't know if it's just us trying to hold on to every nickel and every dime. But this new situation is going to really bring a lot of that home.
Yep.
When people are now trying to apply for business loans and it's like, I didn't put anything on record. I was using PayPal friends and family, right? You can't use that now to demonstrate your business's income. That's not how that works. I've been discouraging people from PayPal friends and family and Cash App for business for that reason. You need that on record. You won't be able to participate in a business loan or a grant when you can't even establish attraction for your business because you've been trying to live under the radar for so long for whatever reason. And now a lot of that to me is going to come home full circle.
Preach.
Jules, right?
So in that respect, right? So right now, obviously, there's a lot of freelancers and contract workers who, are going to be trying to find different ways to kind of continue, basically to stay alive right now with their business by moving it online, right? And so, I mean, even look, we're impacted right now. We normally record in a studio in New York City, and now we're confined to Zoom.
Right.
So, I think like everyone's impacted, even in small ways. I feel like another great example of that is D Nice, right? Like everyone's talking about that right now because he basically broke IG Live last night by putting on like a free, like damn near 8-hour concert.
Yeah, a marathon.
Yes. And it was amazing. And it definitely gave me life and was everything I felt like we needed. But I mean, again, that was something that wasn't really the norm, right? Like DJs normally, have live venues that they perform at. And, he did that for free and out of the goodness of his heart, I guess. But now people are circulating his Cash App handle to basically tip the DJ, so to speak. And I definitely think he deserves all that and then some. But I mean, I really feel like I'm starting to personally see this trend of businesses or service providers, if you will, that normally are, live and in person or brick and mortar, now trying to figure out how to scale their skills into an online business. So do you think that we're going to see more of that? And is there any sort of advice that you would give those types of, businesses?
Yeah, that's actually in my wheelhouse because I have an app development company. So my app development company is called First Generation Apps. And it was me seeing over the horizon. And I've actually I decided to do something a little different because it was something that I saw coming. My focus, unlike any other app development company that I've ever seen, is on social media influencers and personal brands. That was an untapped market because most people, when you think of apps, you think of a platform, you think of a company, you don't think of a personal identity and a brand. And for me, I've been on social media forever. So I'm going to date myself. I've been on social media since AOL 4.0, since Windows 98, since You Got Mail, since Black Planet. So I've been on social media.
We right there with you, girl.
I was going to say, I think I still have my AOL email.
Yes. I remember AIM when it was invented.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So I've been on social media forever and I saw the progression of it. My degree is in sociology, so I also observe it differently. And I see the movement. And one of the things that I saw is as I went from one platform to the next platform to the next platform, I had different identities, different purposes, different monikers. but I was always able to capture a large audience. And eventually you realize like, okay, there's something with me. I've learned how to really do this social media thing. And it doesn't matter. I've been accused. People have thought I was a Black man at one point because I was anonymous, right? Or they never knew who I was, but I could always unmask an audience. And so as we kept moving, I remember the first concept was when Twitter, you had Facebook and then MySpace and then Facebook and then Twitter. And then it was like, okay, try to be on all of them. Right. And then Instagram released the ability for us to post outside to Twitter and Tumblr. And it was like, yes, because I can be everywhere. And I've always encouraged people to dominate their social media real estate. Then you get to a point where you have a situation like Vine. And there are people making millions on Vine. Then Vine is gone. Right. And they put all of their stock in Vine. And so then they had to kind of pivot to Instagram. So I'm just seeing all of this traction. Now we're on Instagram and everybody's like, oh, it's time to go to TikTok, you know? So it's just like, okay, eventually, and especially when you started to make money and your personal brand really became a powerhouse for you, you have to start to think, I have to do something different here. I can't just keep moving and relocating. And so I encourage people, if you have a following, a decent following, I would say definitely 25,000, but even as low as 15. But if you have anything around that, you might want to look into a personal app because you can curate all of your content into that app. Now, that's not to say don't participate in the other apps, yes, but treat them more like residencies instead of your universe, right? Use them for advertising purposes to funnel people to your app, because now this is a playing field that you control. Right. And I've often said content is king, data is the Pope, Facebook is the Vatican. Facebook and all of those places are so powerful because of the data. We are the content creators. Yes, we are the people. We are the milkshake that brings the boys to the yard. But at the end of the day, you can't utilize that data in real time that really benefits you. So you guys are able to see your insights. You can see the demographics, right? You can see your demos on, oh, there's women 25 to 44, the majority of them in New York. That's cool. But what can you do with that information on Instagram? You can't position your post in front of women only in New York. If you had an event in New York, you can't even ensure that they would see your event post by that Sunday because Instagram is placing it whenever, and they're only showing it to 10% of your audience. With the personalized app, you could do that. You could send a push notification and you can drill down into geolocation. This is not where they registered their phone number, like the stupid little, like Bernie's calling me talking about, hey, come vote in California because my phone number starts with 213. No, Bernie, I'm not in Los Angeles, right? I still just have the Cali number. So with the app, you could actually geo where the phone is located. So if you're in Texas, and I had an event in Texas, and then I could send it only to Texas people within a certain mile radius, only to females. And if I'm smart and I hyper segment my audience like I've done, if there was an event for new entrepreneurs, like on my Akanundrum app, I could send that only to my new entrepreneurs. So that way, I'm also not participating in the same system that broke the email marketing game, which is over communicating to people who don't even need your content.
Oversaturation, yeah.
Yes, and then you became spammy. And now you have everyone doing the next spam move, which is send me your text, your phone number. What does that do? That phone number doesn't provide you any of the real relevant details. So I would say you must move into not just the next social media platform, do it, but try to get your own. And you need to really learn how to leverage that, because right now, do you know how many people are asking me to build them apps right now?
Right.
I can build apps for delivery services for food. So everyone is coming to me now like, sis, I'm getting more. I had a lady I advertised to, or not advertised, but I talked to. She wasn't interested 4 weeks ago as much. She hit me up and was like, I need that app immediately. I've done more food delivery sales this week than I ever did in my entire business.
So for an entrepreneur who's interested in that and creating their own app, how do they go about that?
They can contact me because I've actually opened up my criteria. Okay. Initially, like when everything was going well, like I said, I have small cohorts because I also offer mentorship and brand development. So it's not simply me building your app, it is me I'm your strategic partner. So I'm helping you to really understand the app landscape, how to pilot your app yourself. So that comes with a lot. But I have partnered with someone, and we're now taking on just businesses too. So if you have a business and you would like an app built, it's $5.99. The price was actually going to go up, but we're going to keep it where it was at the intro price. So it's $5.99, and that's to have your app completely built. And it is $100 a month, and that's for your maintenance, your hosting, your storage, and
That's
your bandwidth.
amazing.
Yeah. And so that's what we're doing. And we're going to keep that price right here. We're going to freeze that price where it is. And then, yeah, so it's for anyone. And it's a template-based system. If they want something very complicated, then it goes up, of course, because then there's coding.
Right.
The ones that I have presented for you, there's no coding. So you could just manage it and maintain it, in terms of switching your photos out, and very easy, very simple interface.
So just looking at the scope of this crisis and everything that's kind of going on, what do you suggest, or what is the best way for small businesses and entrepreneurs and just people trying to kind of go by? What's the best way to look at what's going on right now?
I think that in terms of survival, we're going to have to create intra-networks in ways we haven't done in a very long time. You're going to have to come together with people. So, for example, the food delivery concept that I spoke of earlier. Let's suppose there's 4 or 5 people who know each other and they all sell food and they're in a certain mile radius. I could build you an app that has a delivery component to it. It would be smarter for 4 or 5 of you guys to get together on that app, put everyone's menu on that app, right? And get the delivery guy or get 2 delivery guys, work together that way, than trying to go it alone. This is going to be an unveiling for a lot of people. This is going to test you and test your creativity and your resourcefulness in ways that you've yet to be tested. And I would say be open to reassigning and repositioning what your business was. This is a time where you have to be free and open to the need. So if you were like, okay, I'm selling this thing, but you're seeing something else come in, move, and move quickly, and be prepared to move quickly again, right? So there's people who are asking me right now, should I start a business? Should I do an LLC? And I'm saying right now, just start it. If there's a need right now, just start it, go sole prop. Don't even really concern yourself about everything right now. Just try to get in there, do sole prop, and move, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to try to go back to work, that'll have to go back to work, because this is unprecedented. This is something that we can imagine slightly, and you'd have to do like some worst case scenario imagining, and reserve whatever you have. Don't go out and buy an influx of inventory. Do it as a very need-based system, right? And watch for those who are going to exploit you, because there's going to be a lot of people to offer you now new opportunities and, oh, I can help you make money at home now, and I can do this. Watch, because they're going to come out in droves.
Wow, that's kind of scary. But do you feel like now is an opportune time for certain industries to kind of launch? I mean, in full disclosure, we haven't officially launched our show, even though we have our first season pretty much recorded already, and we were planning a launch in a big flashy way with an event and all of that. And so we're impacted as well by this pandemic. But lots of people are telling us that now that, people's attention is going to be focused online or, in their phones, that now's an opportune time to really launch something content based. So would you agree with that advice? Are there other industries that you feel like this is an opportune time to really launch or get something off the ground?
I agree 100% in terms of digital content. I'm in a very unique position. I have other people, and I've done businesses that were inventory based. I've done businesses that were product based, not too much as service-based. That was a little side hustle, but I know that there's other people right now, personally, and just all over, because I speak to thousands of entrepreneurs that are really screwed right now. And I'm not. My business is something that I can do pretty much anywhere, as long as I have a phone, as long as I have an internet connection, I'm okay. If I were to relocate, I'm fine. I don't have an office to anchor down to. I don't have anything monetarily that is withholding me back, nothing at all. And so I'm in a very unique position. I'm in a really good position. Now, that's not to say everyone should have been doing something digital at the time, but right now you can see how it is an asset for me right now, right? Now, there are other people who are doing great right now who had businesses that were based on something like, sanitizers and soap, and, they're moving product left and right. There's other people who have food-based businesses, and as long as they can get a courier, they're great, so that's awesome. But if you had to right now, I would invest in the low cost, no cost model, something that's not going to have you contingent on overseas shipping or, stuff like that. We just saw what happened. So I think what you guys are doing right now is going to be tremendous, because there's a lot of people at home. They're going to be searching for all kinds of content. And just a heads up, if you think about it, in Europe, they asked Netflix to scale back, YouTube to scale back, because they were taking such a toll on the internet. So streaming got cut down. I don't know if you guys remember the conversation around net neutrality, when they were considering throttling the internet speed. Right. Okay. Yep. When you think about that, when the internet gets slow, what they spend their time watching is going to change dramatically. Right. People are always going to participate in escapism, but I have a feeling a couple of gossip sites might not get as many hits as they were getting when you just had infinite time on the internet. Right. So people are going to be looking for heavy solution-based content. They're going to be looking for resources and information, because if the speeds are down, you just don't have time to search, and they're going to look for condensed, palatable, and bite-sized content that they can readily understand and apply really quickly. So I think you guys are in a great position, and a lot of other people are going to be right now. They're going to look up and say, wow, it's going to change. There's going to be a polarized shift in what used to be valuable versus what's valuable today. It's going to be a dramatic shift in that. And I think people are already starting to see that when they're sitting in their homes and they're looking around at the stuff they have and the money they don't have and what they wasted their money on. Everyone's kind of rethinking right now, So I think for the content that you're providing, you're in a very unique position. And yes, you will.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, you've made some really powerful predictions.
Yeah, I'm so grateful you're here, and just everything you're sharing is so valuable. Thank you.
You're welcome. So many notes.
Yeah, and it's all kind of relative. A lot of the things I try to break down, because it's all relative, and as you start to apply it, you can see it coming, right? So not into the tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist lane, but there are just things that we can now really connect the dots and we can start to see. So there's things that I do warn people. I don't try to fearmonger them against things, but one of the things that I do know that's absolutely going to happen is we're going to see an increase in the prison labor force population for the prison industrial complex. It's just a matter of common sense at this point, because we've disrupted our relationships with Mexico, which is where we would get a lot of our cheap products from. China as well, but we still have needs. And if you look into the New York situation, when we ran out of sanitizer, they tapped into what they call stateside, which is really prison labor. And the prisoners are now outputting 100 gallons of sanitizer per week, and they're going to ramp that up. When you saw the mayor say, we need masks, and well, stateside, they make uniforms, because they do make a lot of the military uniforms. Why can't they make masks? And now you're going to have the society on board with it, because we need it and we can't get it cheap. And I don't know if you guys saw the post that I did, but they're looking for 800,000 laborers for our farms. And they used to rely on temporary visas, work visas with the immigrants. They are actively deportating immigrants. Where is this foreign labor going to come from? So you're going to see a huge shift. Like right now, Amazon has opened 100,000 jobs. There will be people there with PhDs. There will be people who, right, like you're going to see a big shift. And so if you just pay attention to those things, it doesn't mean like just bog down and get consumed, but see the trends and what's going on. And then you'll be shocked at how just by you thinking and placing yourself carefully, you'll be in a better position than a lot of other people. And so information will be as valuable as oil. Information will be as valuable as, but it's going to be correct information. So that's another thing that I will caution you guys about. If you notice on Instagram, have you seen anyone's post that's flagged with this is false information yet?
No.
Oh, you guys haven't seen that. Okay. Instagram has now implemented a system that they're using 40 different sources, I believe, to verify your information now. And I've run across 3 people whose post was flagged. So before you could see the post, you saw the warning on it that said, this information has been deemed false or partially false. Pay attention to that, because a lot of people's, this is how they're going to shut down a lot of other people, because the assumption will be, and you guys are spreading false information and panic, and you're overloading our system. Remember, the internet is already about to become a very crowded and used space. So they're going to start filtering out a lot of that stuff. So, always cite your sources. When you're using information, cite it from credible sources and things like that, because it's going to be very different. In China, you see how we can't put out certain information? We're kind of getting to that. I wouldn't say as harsh as that, I don't think, but very different. So when people see that, they're not going to use those sites, right? This false information. So
Right.
being a trusted source, a reliable source, and a consistent source of good content will help you.
I'm an editor, so I very much co-sign that.
Okay. All right. See?
Okay. What is your thoughts on crypto right now?
I don't participate in the crypto market, to be honest with you. My opinion on it would simply be based on just what I've observed. And of course, that's where we're moving. We're moving to, I hate to use the term, cashless society. I mean, it's just where we are. If you look in prison is a cashless society right now. And it has been for a few decades. They don't have physical, tangible cash in prison. They have wristbands that have barcodes, and their money is on a system. And it's not far-fetched for us to see right now, right? You're using cash less and less. I mean, here in New York, I know, in California, we always kind of kept some cash on us. But here in New York, I know a lot of people just don't have cash. And then if you're looking at it, you're like, where do I even really use it, right? So it's
And they're
only
scared to use it too, because there's so many germs right now. So they don't even want to handle it. Even at Walmart, it said we prefer, credit card use right now.
Yeah, they were burning cash in China for that very reason. They were burning a lot of the cash for the germs.
Wow.
So so I can imagine that cryptocurrency is going to play a very active role. I can't advise people on what to do with it or not to do with it. It's just a part of what is. And, it's going to be a scary part, because even the banking systems right now, just think about it. If your whole entire bank or website goes down, like, it's scary, right? It's like, whoa, your money's tied up. What if you were to reset your thing and it's like, oh, it's zero. I'm sorry, we got to work it out. We've had a glitch in the system. It's been hacked, So I think maybe people feel a little bit more comfortable with cryptocurrency because it's less regulated in that manner by those things. But yeah, that's pretty much all I really know about that.
And what about your thoughts on automation, especially, I mean, I'm kind of envisioning automation to really start playing a bigger role in the healthcare industry, especially with, again, all of this fear of, germs and bacteria and viruses. But I'm curious to see if you think that this pandemic might kind of propel a shift towards automation in general.
Yeah, it's going to, because again, as we move, okay, right now, GM, Ford, quite a few of the car manufacturers overseas, and they've shut down their plants now here in America. We're still going to need these things at a particular price point. So automation is going to be it. Automation blew my mind when it hit McDonald's. And what I mean by that is McDonald's and jobs like that, fast food, they were a rite of passage when you turn 16 years old. That was literally like, that was your God-given right as a 16-year-old, was a McDonald's job. And when you go into McDonald's now and there's all kiosks, right? Eventually, they will have something where the burger is just being slapped, because McDonald's overall as a corporation is what really taught us automation and consistency in America. McDonald's is the first corporation that really streamlined making sure that everything was consistent, and it affected the farms, and it affected Tyson chicken, it affected tomatoes, it affected how we eat food today. McDonald's did, because they needed everything so regulatory and just so sane. So now I always look to somewhere like McDonald's. It's crazy enough, right? Because they're really ahead of the curve on a lot. So when you see McDonald's and you also see self-serve, Walmart lanes, and these are the jobs that were so valuable because anyone was able to get them. You could get them. So yeah, automation is not even just, of course, scientifically, they've already got the surgeons and the robots. That's there. And now that you have healthcare workers who are being infected and dying, you're absolutely right. That's going to take precedence as much as possible. So then it's kind of like, well, where is left? What's left for a lot of people? Yeah. So the more that you see these counters and people are getting to be more afraid, you're going to see more and more of these kiosks popping up in a lot of these national chains. And each kiosk is a person's job, pretty much.
Yeah, so it sounds like the resounding theme here is go digital.
Yeah.
As we kind of move more into where social distancing is going to become, a norm in some capacity, even if it's not as full-fledged as we're being encouraged to be these days.
Yeah, and I would say that a lot of times as humans, we have to think about the jobs that the computers can't do, right? As human beings, there are still things that they simply have yet to replace so far. And even though we're moving into automation, a lot of your major software tech companies, as they were hiring, they were changing some of their practices where they stopped focusing as much on IQ as they started to focus on EQ. Because at the end of the day, that component changes the landscape of the work environment. So there was one CEO who said at first they only focused on the data crunchers, the numbers, the guys with the degrees, and he's smart, and he's, and what happened was those people were very disruptive to the work environment. They were highly competitive. They only cared about appeasing upper management. They treated their coworkers like crap, and it just brought such, it just removed the harmony overall. They started to realize that the people who had more empathy, who had more EQ, they were better for the overall work environment. And so they started shifting and realizing that, so there's things that as human beings, we do have that are critical, and we have to start to think about that. At the end of the day, and I know when you call and it's like, press 1, and it's like, it's just like, oh my God. So we went from saying, and it's sad and it's kind of xenophobic, but it went to, well, I need an American voice. I want somebody who speaks English. Okay. Then you get the automation, and that's not working either. So it's not to say that those things can't resurgence, because eventually the demand kind of comes back, right? They tried to do it the cheap way. They tried to do it the low cost way, and it's not working out. So I think that there will still be spaces where our humanness shows up where automation can't.
Absolutely. I mean, even with like all of our local like drugstores or whatever you'd call like a CVS or a Walgreens trying to go self-checkout. I mean, I personally find it to be super annoying and counterproductive because you constantly find people getting jammed up and having to get, a worker called over to help them check out anyway. So,
and I feel like it's theft because I'm like, wait, first off, I wasn't trained for this job. Second off, I'm not even getting a discount. You're not paying me per hour, so I should at least be getting a discount. Doing this part, but I digress. Yes.
Agreed. So, I mean, we could keep you here all day and listen to your predictions, and fully intend to have you in the studio when we're back and
yes.
done
We need
with
to write a book.
level of social distancing.
Yeah, you know what? And you're an editor, so you should help me.
I will be more than happy to. You
guys should get that going. We need that content now.
All right. And this is, if you think about it, we can look at this in a lot of different ways. Personally, I say this is a great time for anyone who's creative, anyone who's passionate, you're going to shine. You're going to come up with things that no one thought about, right? You're going to come up with things and solutions to problems, and it'll be wonderful. I do think that there is a little bit of a balancing going on in the world. I see that the earth in general is healing, that part I'm happy about. Yeah. I do see that we're starting to appreciate work sectors and people that were largely ignored, largely disrespected, largely undervalued. Yeah. Yes. Oh, right. When we leave this, how many of these stay-at-home moms are going to be like, okay, first off, she needs double whatever she was getting. Yes. And I think it needs to, because it's not to say that we can't trust the market and let the market dictate, but so many people have been overvalued, right? And we're starting to see that now. And we need to kind of balance that. Like, you know what? These teachers really should have been making a lot more money. That part I'm happy about seeing that. And I think a lot of the frivolous things that we were concerned about, no one's going to be caring about for a second. That's the one thing that I am happy about, that there was so much nonsense and noise, and we were just starting to complain about every tiny little thing, that now people are they're going to get back to the basics, the things that are important and what's value. And I'm happy that some people are actually having to spend time with their children and their loved ones in ways that they just didn't have time to. I'm not even saying everything was nefarious or people don't care. Sometimes you just were working so hard, you didn't have time.
Yeah, just be more present. I think that's really what it is. Like, go ahead, Kara.
No, I was going to say, even the concept of like survival, like some officials are suggesting we work less days if, avoiding contact seems to be working to not spread diseases. So I think like our concept of surviving, that whole survival of the fittest type of thing is going to change as well.
Yes, it is. It definitely has. So I think that you guys you're right on time. There was something that I saw on YouTube, if I could remember the name of it. I'm a concept learner, so sometimes names and things like that, I'll forget that, but I know the concept.
Same.
So, so there was something that I watched, and it was the CEO of it. He studies startups, and I think they invest into startups, and they were trying to find out what was a single variable that makes a business fail or succeed. And they reviewed, I believe, 100 startups of all different sizes, revenue, teams, everything. The initial thought was money. Everybody thought that was going to be the differentiator between success and failure. They also thought it was the team, whether the team was capable and everything. And upon the end of the study, they found out it was timing. Timing was a single variable that determined whether a startup succeeded or failed. So the example he used was, there was a company that was trying to be YouTube. They literally were YouTube before YouTube. And they had the best team, and they had millions of dollars. They had everything. It's perfect. But what it was is that at the time, the cable companies, we didn't have high-speed dial-up. So as they were offering these videos and these platforms, we couldn't participate in them because more than half of us still have very slow internet speeds. So the company hung on And then eventually they just cashed out. 2 years later, YouTube was actually trying to be a dating app, a dating service. And because the videos were working, they pivoted and became YouTube. And it wound up working because 2 years later, everyone had high speed. So see, it's timing. It's really timing. You could be ahead and too far ahead, and you can be behind, right? And too far behind. And then you can be right in that space where you're just right. So I think that you guys are right in that just right spot right now. And you would have thought, let me go blow a big marketing budget and do all of this and do all of that, right? And won't he do it? You know, so right now you are going to be building and budding this out at the least cost, right? And you're going to actually put your resources in the best space, not in the antiquated spaces that they told you to. You need this big party and this big rollout and all of this. And I think for that reason, you're right on time and you're right on target. So that's my last prediction.
That speaks
just
volumes
inspired
to our hustle.
Wow. Well, so we definitely will continue these conversations and hopefully providing your wisdom and insight to our audience beyond this, obviously. And we need to chat about an app, but that's another thing.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
Yes, we need that.
All of your content. And if you haven't, you can look at my app too. It's Akanundrum is my name, and it's on the Google Play Store, and it's on, of course, Apple. You can look at my app and just have a general idea of like, oh, I get it now. It's her personal app, but it's actually a business community, right? So it's not just the Akanundrum show, but it's a business community. So I've implemented all kinds of resources like funding for your businesses. There's a business buddy matchmaker that's like Tinder for entrepreneurs that people really need right now. So you can find a strategic partner who's somewhere else right now. And you're saying, hey, I'm good at marketing. I'm looking for someone who's good at finances, right? Let's just talk. Let's just bounce ideas off of each other. Let's help each other through this. So it was me adding me into it, but adding all of these resources into a community. So you don't even have to know me to benefit from the app. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yes.
No, it does.
Okay.
So basically, before we sign off, let everybody know how they can reach you and get a customized business plan or an app or just have a conversation, because I feel like you are a walking encyclopedia of business knowledge.
Yes, and you need to write that book.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. Right now, everything is, I'm really kind of good on consistency. So everything is Akanundrum, Akanundrum. That is the Instagram. Actually, it's my webpage. If you go to Akanundrum, it's like a link tree there because I was too lazy to build a webpage. But my app is also Akanundrum, and I do offer free business advice. There's an Ask Akanundrum section, so you can ask a question and I'll answer you. And if you want, you can search too. So say you're looking for trademark advice, you can search trademark and see if that question's already been asked.
Where were you this whole time? We needed you like months ago.
She's right on time though.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
And then if you want and you need further consultation, there is a connect with me. And then you can actually send me like, no, I actually need a little bit more in depth. And I do like 1 hour free business. Well, I don't charge for it. They usually go a little longer than an hour, but I do 1 hour free business consultations and strategy consultations, and they're free. And I'll be doing more of those because, we ain't got nothing else to do. So I'll be doing more of that. And yeah, so that's it. It's pretty much the website, my Instagram, but my app is where I'm at. And so if anything goes down, and Instagram goes down, I still have my hub and I still have contact with my people, which is very, very critical,
Absolutely amazing. And I
am on Facebook. I kind of do post some of my things to Facebook, not all of them all the time, but a lot of the content is on Facebook too.
So y'all go check her out.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you again. We can't thank you enough. You've been a blessing, honestly. And we will be in touch. And if anyone can't reach you through all of those mechanisms, you can holler at us at Young Urban Moms, and we will definitely loop Akanundrum in.
Yeah, I have to get you guys on. I'm going to fire up my radio show again and my podcast because I have that too. So I'd love to cross interview you guys on that.
Let's do it.
Yes, we'll be happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Much. Enjoy your day.